Welcome to Delivering Miracles, a podcast to teach women like you tips and strategies on how you can have a safer pregnancy so you can bring home a healthy baby. I'm your host and your high-risk pregnancy expert, Parijat Deshpande. I can't wait to chat with you. Been listening to this podcast for a little while, you probably have heard the story of the worst doula experience that I had, which was my husband. He had gotten this book called, I can't even remember what it's called now, something about for dads to be being the best doula for your wife or something like that. It was for men, and it was meant to be that he could be a doula. And then, as you know, or as you probably know if you've heard my story, he wasn't even present for the birth of my son. And so we have this recurring joke about how he's a terrible doula because he didn't even show up for the birth. And it just makes us laugh because he was obviously heartbroken that he wasn't there. But it's a really funny joke that we have going on in our family. But I have many friends who have worked with doulas with amazing experiences, who, tell me regularly that thank God I hired a doula because I don't know what I would have done without her. And I'll be honest with you, before I had gotten pregnant, I did not know what a doula was. I didn't know what they did. I didn't know, how it was any different than having an OB or a nurse in the room. I didn't understand whether there would be a difference or not. I mean, I didn't understand that you may need somebody else. And after hearing stories from my friends, I have a friend who hired a doula who actually helped her when she was going through a miscarriage and who went with her to a D&C appointment and who helped her heal and was right there with her as she was healing afterwards. I have another friend who hired a doula, really last minute decision. She was really going back and forth. Should I do it? Should I not? And the very last minute decided that she wanted to hire a doula. And she went into labor a little bit early, I think at 35 weeks. And she called the doula right away. So, oh my God, please come over. I think I'm in labor. I don't know what to do. And it turned out that the doula actually helped her husband more than her because her husband was completely freaking out. And so there's all these different stories that I've heard about what doulas do, but I thought it would be really awesome to bring on an actual doula and talk about what it is that doulas do. What is it that, what is the work that they do and how do they support us? Because I personally didn't experience it, but the more I hear about their work, the more I feel like every single person should have support from a doula. So I'm super excited to have Lori Bregman on today. Lori is a renowned doula, life, pregnancy, wellness, and women's empowerment, and author of The Mindful Mom to Be. With over 16 years of experience, Lori works with moms-to-be and new moms on all aspects of their personal transformation, from fertility through pregnancy and into new motherhood. And she is unique in her innate ability to blend spiritual coaching, healing, and intuition, which are fully integrated into her doula practice. The delivery is just one part of the journey of birthing not only a healthy baby, but also a healthy mother. And Lori cultivates a strong relationship with her clients by supporting them through the entire process, before, during, and after the birth. She's the founder of the Rooted for Life program, a complete mind, body, and spirit support system that helps women through fertility, pregnancy, and birth as they transition into new motherhood. Welcome, Lori. I'm so excited that you're here.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I just love your approach to how you just empower women so much. I mean, if you follow Lori on social media, she just has the most inspirational, most motivating messages for women. And I'd love to know, how did you start in this world of being a doula? What brought you to do that work?
I think you come into this life meant to go do something. And I have just always been drawn to working with pregnant women and children and babies and women. And it was it started with my birth, my own birth and pregnancy experience with my own mother and the way I came into this world and grew up from that place. And then, through the healing I had to do and really learning to empower myself, it was all meant to be. Steve Jobs always says you can only connect the dots looking backwards, not forwards. Yeah. And when I look back, everything set me up to go do this. I was known in Los Angeles for prenatal massages and body work and healing. And then I started seeing how much emotional support, physical support, emotional support, like just so much spiritual support these women needed. So I started taking courses and classes and studying and bringing all this information into my massage practice. And when I was taking my prenatal training, massage training, they told me about what a doula was. And they told us about classes. And I was like, oh, sign me up. And that was 16 years ago. And so I signed up for this course and I kind of dabbled. I went in and out. I would work with one person that it was kind of just a tough birth. And I'd be like, maybe this isn't my calling. But I really stepped into it about, God, I don't even know. I did, it was like in and out for a couple of years and then I stepped into it. Because every time I'd step into it and embrace it, and it was just, the doors would just flood, like the doors would just fly open for me. So I realized that I was on the right path.
Oh, that is so cool. And so you said that you were just kind of placed on this path from your birth experience. Can you share a little more about what that means?
Well, I think you come into this world with an imprint. And I do believe that you build the foundation, your root chakra starts in the womb, and so things, there was things going on in my mother's life and her that affected her pregnancy with me. And then the birth, I was born in the 60s where they literally used to put women to sleep and pull them out, and they weren't allowed. Nobody was in the room with them. Other women were in the room having babies. But they'd pull them out with forceps, pull us babies out with forceps. Oh, man. And back then the women didn't know any better. They smoke, but the men weren't allowed in the room and they were just alone. And it was just a scary experience. And, I really think I think it impacted my mother, but it really impacted me coming into this world.
That is so fascinating that you share that. And thank you for sharing that, because this is something that is really starting to be talked about so much more in the pregnancy world, of how what mom goes through really is transmitted to baby.
Well, they're a part of you, just like your kidneys, your liver. They're simmering in not only and people are just like, well, I'm eating this, I'm that. And it's not like, I just want to say this because I don't want to freak anybody out. It's not what you do every once in a while that affects the child. If you're living in a constant state of fear or stress or like angst, can affect the child. If you're having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if it's like the whole entire time, it does transfer. And there's tons of books about this. Thomas Verney writes about this. I've studied all his work. Michael Odiant is like all this birth psychology stuff is so. If I invite anybody to David Chamberlain, read their works, because I'm fascinated with it. I'm kind of obsessed.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And it's so powerful that it can be a really great source of empowerment for women to know that what you're doing can really impact and shape your baby's health and their life. And it's not, it's not everything. What you do in pregnancy is going to determine everything for the rest of your baby's life, but that you do have a say in how your baby enters the world. And I think that's so powerful to remind women of that.
And then on another note, I do believe babies come in with their own, soul path. Sure. and own soul and spirit that they're, and sometimes they choose to come in a way, like I did, that they needed to come into to shape their being.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's all perfect. There's like a balance of that. And then knowing that, like, I think women, when they're pregnant, they forget that they're pregnant and they don't have a disease. So we tend to over worry a little bit, especially with this oversaturation on the internet. And,
Totally.
it's breeding so much fear and distrust in the woman's body.
Totally.
And I have to always remind them that, like, you know what I mean? Just, you don't have to go crazy with it. But, I do find that when I support my women through pregnancy and birth, and they have that support person to go to, they have that person to talk to and do coaching with and call and say, is this okay to eat? And, is this okay? And that I'm having just a really hard time with something. Can you jump on the phone and talk? And I just do like a little spiritual coaching with them. It just makes them better, which I know in turn makes, the baby.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about doula. Like, what is a doula and what kind of support do you provide?
A doula is another woman. Well, there's some men these days.
But there's really? That's cool.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah. So it used to, back in the old days, women from the tribe, women from all, your sisters, your mothers, and everybody used to come together and help support you through your pregnancy, birth, and afterwards. Now we live so far away from everybody, and women have to work, and it's a different world today. So now and we've been around forever, doulas, but today more than ever, doulas are around. And I keep getting the thing like, I didn't know that you could have a doula if you were going to get an epidural in the hospital. And I feel like that's when you need kind of a doula the most, is to navigate the hospital, to advocate for you, to educate you, to hold space. And, we do a lot of different things. We educate, we coach, we hold space, and advocate, emotional support, physical support. Nurses come into the room and do all the medical stuff. And we all work together as a team. And doctors usually come in and, at the end and catch the baby. But a doula is by your side. But I go to people so early, usually before active labor starts. And, I can be with people 10 hours, 15 hours, 24 hours before the baby even gets here. And it's a familiar face that you've known, that you've worked with through your whole entire pregnancy. Yeah. And
you know what strikes me too is, as I have followed your work, obviously, and heard from my friends too of their experiences having doulas, is that the doctor, like you said, really just comes in at the very end. And as for those of you listening, when you go to your appointments, you hardly get 10, 15, 20 minutes with your doctor if you're lucky. The nurses, and for those of you who are on hospital bed rest like I was, they're wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people, total angels on earth. But at some point, they do also have to stick with hospital regulations. And the thing that strikes me about doulas is you're really there for the mom. You're there for her best interest and her best interest only. And the advocacy piece really stands out to me as something that is so, so important, especially for during labor or during delivery, when she's not really in the best place to be able to speak up for herself.
Yeah. Or just, the thing is too, I'm so blessed to work with the most amazing doctors. And by the way, midwives are incredible. They come a lot earlier. They come, when you're in active transition. And you don't really, when you're working with midwives, you don't really have to advocate, because we're all on the same team. But there's so many doctors that are like midwives that I'm so blessed to work with in this town. And because I work so closely with them. When I'm laboring at home, I text them on their cell phone, like, heads up, this is what's going on. And, we go over the birth plan with the doctor, just so we're all on the same team. When I go to the hospital, the nurses, we work as a team, and it's really important to have that team. Everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also know that I've heard from a lot of women who feel like they didn't have that as the team, that doctor was doing their own thing, nurses were doing their own thing, and nobody was really on their side, they felt. And that can be really scary to go through. Mm-hmm. And I think for those of you that are listening, if that has been your experience, this may be a really great opportunity to look into having a doula the next time, that you go, maybe as somebody who can be the leader of that team and help bring everybody together so you don't feel like you're having to manage it all while also dealing with your pregnancy and then labor and delivery ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, in labor, the only thing you should be focused on is being present and having your baby. You shouldn't have to worry about what's going on around you. And for as far as the partner, I mean, some people I've gotten, well, what's my husband going to do or my partner going to do? And it's like, I always say that we work together as a team, that it's going to be your partner and me holding space for you and me holding space for both of you. And I love to bring people together. I'll be like, throw your arms around, his neck and feel him supporting you. Or, if sometimes they just don't know what to do. So, just by saying, hey, can you just get like a cold washcloth and just hold it on her head gently and just hold her hand, and I always, when I prep them, it's just, we're both going to be feeding you these positive affirmations and it goes such a long way. And, you're her rock. And so it's not like doulas are there to take the place of the partner or the doctor or the nurse. Again, we all work together as a team, but it is that one person who does help you find what I really encourage my people to find their truth. And I mean, that is don't do what your yoga teacher said to do, or, your mother did and feels is right. Like, I really want them to follow what they feel to be true. And I support them in it no matter what.
I love that. And it's that empowering message that I think is so needed for a lot of pregnant women to hear. And especially those of you that are listening, I know you're going through a lot. You're dealing with fertility issues. You're dealing with a high-risk pregnancy. I want you to really hear what she's saying, that you can have a team around you. You need a team around you, and you can and need to be empowered during this experience because it's your journey.
Yeah. And when you have high risk pregnancies, there is so much fear.
There's so much fear.
And just to
yes.
Yeah. And just and to have that one person who maybe you just is there strictly for just you.
Yeah.
It's just so nice to be able to be like, you know what, they're not going to judge me. I can express whatever I want. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable. Maybe you're uncomfortable being vulnerable with your friends, or, you don't want to talk about it with somebody else, but this is just so it's just nice to have that.
Yeah. So can you work with women with high risk pregnancies, and how does that work look different than with women who have typical pregnancies?
I do all the time. I work with high risk pregnancies all the time. I just get kept in the loop. I go to the doctor's appointments sometimes. We talk about what's going on. I have a girl right now with placenta previa who's like bleeding, and I'm helping her with bed rest. She's on modified bed rest right now. And just empowering her that the doctor calls me and tells me what's going on, and she's just I believe sometimes things during I tell people this is one of my things. I've always, in all my years of doing this, I've always seen something come up during pregnancy or trying to get pregnant or in the birth that is preparing you for your role as a mother for this particular child. So in this case, it's kind of this girl, was a traveler. She traveled all around the world. She was a go-getter, go. And it's causing her, she has to slow down. And I'm like, hey, you know what? You're going to need this when you have your baby.
Right.
And so it kind of, it's allowing her to do some work on that right now. And that's where the work we're doing right now with the coaching stuff is, to embrace this thing. So when she births herself as a mother, looking at it like this is the reason this is happening, and to practice slowing down.
I see. So what type of support then are you providing somebody like her? Is it more practical stuff like helping around the house since she's on modified bed rest? Or is it, I know you mentioned some coaching too.
Yeah, I'm helping her. Well, I have different packages, and she signed up for like the ultimate doula package. So I see her every single week of her pregnancy, since like day one through the birth, like through the first year after the baby's life.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, I have like different packages, but this one has a lot of support. So what I've done with her is, talk to her about placenta previa, what it means, blah blah blah. Helped her, I mean, the other day we tried to come up with some hobbies for her that she could do while she's sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I want to get into knitting. So like we literally went and learned how to knit together.
Oh, that's great.
I know. We went to a knitting store. We sat down. We took a lesson, and we're both knitting now. She's, we set up some stuff around. We came up with some projects for her to work on, and I have her journaling about like what comes up for her, just having to sit, having to slow down, having just to be. And then we're doing work on that, like just some work. Like spiritual coaching work, just kind of really getting clear on like bringing that awareness to
Got it. Okay. It sounds like there's such power in having that companionship, because I know personally, having been on bed rest for so long, it was extremely lonely, and it was such a breeding ground for getting stuck in that cycle of fear because there's nothing to do. So all I did was Google, and then it scared me more, and then I got more scared, and then there was nothing to do, and it just gets circled and circular like that. Having somebody kind of around to help me learn how to do something new, like it would have been great because I taught myself how to crochet. It would have been great to have somebody sit with me and do that and kind of talk me through it. That would have been wonderful.
Yeah. I had speaking of bed rest, I mean, I had another woman a couple years ago who had twins, and she had to have her cervix sewn up. So she was on bed rest, and she was telling me all these things. We were kind of talking about things she could do. And I was like, and I was like, why don't you write a blog for me? Help me write a blog on like things you can do for bed rest. And it was an amazing blog. And then I was like, can you research? I just kept giving her things to do. I'm like, can you research? Because I was I was doing a ton of blog stuff. I was like, can you Google like really cool things about twins for me and start researching like really cool, like, and she's like, yeah. And so I was just kind of giving her things to do to kind of keep her busy.
Yep.
Take her mind off things and focus on the twins, her babies, the positive, the cool things about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. That's so great. I love that. And sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. And then, I do go in the room with them when they have, I even if they have to have a C-section, I'm usually go in the room with them. Oh,
so you're in there during the delivery, even if it's a C-section?
Yes. It's up to the anesthesiologist, but because I think I'm at the hospital so much, they let me in.
Okay. I love that.
And more doulas are being allowed in the delivery room in the OR because that's where you need us seriously the most. Yeah. I mean, it's scary in there.
It's really scary in there.
And to have somebody just hold your husband or your partner's holding your hand, and just to have that person, like I just rub their head and just tell them to breathe and it's okay, and to and then I guide them through a little meditation and, tell them, if the baby looks good, can we do some skin to skin in the OR? And then they'll bring the baby over, and it's just, and then I'll take pictures. So it's, it's important to have that too. If you're allowed.
And I think for me, just hearing this, it would have been helpful. I think it sounds so helpful to know that there's somebody who's got an extra set of eyes and ears who's not in it, so that you can actually see and hear and just, just so I would know that there's somebody else looking out for us. That would be such a source of comfort.
Holding space again.
Yes.
And that's,
Yes, absolutely. And then if baby has to go to the NICU, then do you still stay with mom, or how does that work?
I always, in the birth plan, I always say doula stays with mom, partner goes with baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So another relief for the partner then to know that somebody's with her while she's recovering, while he or she goes to the NICU to see how baby's doing.
Exactly.
Love that. I love that. And then how about afterwards? If baby's in the NICU for a while, do you go to the NICU to visit mom?
I'll come back. It depends. Like I've worked with a single mom who had preeclampsia, and her baby came early, and it was me and her mother there during the whole thing. I supported her through her pregnancy. And then, I went back to the NICU a lot to visit her just to make sure she was, she was okay and taking care of herself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm hearing a lot from people, especially doulas in the community, that there's a lot of request for postpartum support. So what kind of postpartum support do you provide as a doula for women after they've delivered?
So I am more focused on fertility, pregnancy, birth, and then like just the first couple weeks, the first week or two. But I have amazing friends that are postpartum doulas that I recommend. With my ultimate or the ultimate doula package, I do a lot of postpartum support. Right. Everything from rehashing the birth. I love writing my takedown, her takedown. Then she writes hers takedown. Her partner writes their take, and it's like the three of us had totally different experiences and some of the same, and it's just kind of cool. And we talk about it.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then they save the stories and put them away, and it's a cool thing. I make sure that they're eating properly. There's a great book called The First 40 Days that my friend Han wrote that I highly suggest that everybody should get. Sometimes I'll make them, SIDS baths and bring them healing supplies afterwards. I'll rub their feet. I'll take them for a walk, make sure they're getting sunshine. I'll just kind of talk to them and see how they're feeling. Mm-hmm. I try to do a lot of prep before, but you really can never really properly prepare, Yeah. So, and then that's it. But some of my friends, that are postpartum doulas, they come over and they hold the baby so mom can take a shower. They cook for them. They give them massages. They do like closing of the bones, the hip bones. They do wraps and all these things. So there's a lot, and it's just, again, I think it's a big missing piece in our culture.
I agree.
I was working with a group of Saudi princesses that used to come in and work with me. When they all get pregnant, they would come in and do some work with me. Mm-hmm. And I was like prepping them for birth and talking to them about their pregnancy. And then I was like, all right, ladies, let's talk about postpartum support. And they were like, what do you mean? And I said, okay, what's your plan? Like, what are we going to do? Like, I want to make sure you guys have support and blah, 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 blah. And they looked at me and they were like, they thought I was crazy. And they're like, we go to our mother's house for 40 days. And our grandmothers come and our aunts come and all our friends come and our husbands come and our cousins come and everybody comes and takes care of us. And when we've healed, we go home. And we don't have something. More and more people are really isolated here. Yes. So it's a real missing piece. It's getting a lot of attention now because so many women are, having postpartum depression. Right. And there's, again, because we're so far from everybody, and some of us are estranged from our families, or just we can't get to each other as much as we like to, or take as much time off. It's really important to have that support afterwards too.
Yes, absolutely. It's called the fourth trimester for a reason. Mm-hmm. We want to consider it as part of the pregnancy. And as much as you're preparing for pregnancy and delivery, you really want to take the time to make your postpartum plan too. So you have the ability to take care of yourself, take care of this new baby, and really actually enjoy this new transition into motherhood.
Right. And to have somebody mother you so you can go mother your baby.
Yes, yes. I'm Indian, and in our culture back in India, they have an amazing tradition where it's very similar to the Saudi princesses that you just mentioned, where women go home. They go back to their moms, same thing, surrounded by grandmothers and mother and sisters, aunts, and it goes so far that for the first, I want to say 6 weeks or so, mom is only responsible for feeding baby. And every single day, mom and baby get a massage. And everybody brings food and helps her stay hydrated and make sure she's sleeping. And you're so right that it's exactly counter to what we experience here, which is very much, I mean, we just feel alone. We feel kind of thrown into the fire and go, now what do I do? I'm exhausted and I can't think straight, and I'm supposed to take care of a new human at the same time.
I know. And then with social media, I mean, there's so many great things. Like, I love social media to just keep doing all this inspiration and positive, like Instagram. I mean, on my Instagram, I'm constantly trying to like empower and positive and, you know, be you and all that stuff. But there's, you know, you see people and you're sitting here and you're like, why do they look so good? And you know, and if you realize that people are posting the best, they're posting like controlled content. And you know, it's not like when people are like, hey, a week pregnant, my stomach's gone down, I'm out, you know, running around with my child, is not always, not everybody's like that. And we all get different, we all have different, you know, levels. I've had people are like, how long does the postpartum period last? And it can last anywhere from, depends who you are, and depends on your baby, and it just depends on your process, and you can't rush a process. But it's, the more you can just be in it, the quicker you're going to come out the other side, and not compare yourself to other people. Because some people lose the baby right away. Some people have an easier time. Some people have, you know, colicky baby. Some babies don't sleep. You can't compare yourself to anybody else. And I know for those of you that are listening, for those of you who are NICU moms or preemie moms, that can be really hard, because not only are you comparing, and I did this too, that you see not just, oh, things look better for others, but that, oh, they got to do something I couldn't do. I couldn't carry my baby to term. I couldn't hold my baby for a certain number of days or weeks. My baby's still in the NICU and all these other babies are at home. And there's so much there. And so I'm so glad, Lori, that you mentioned that we got to stop comparing and just stay really focused on our little miracle and what he or she is doing, and keep focused there. It's so true. And I cannot stress that enough, because in my 16 years of doing this, I have never seen the same woman, family, couple, child, baby, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, whatever, that has been the same. So you really, you know, just know that that's their journey. And just when you feel yourself going like, why, look at them, la, 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 just be like, because that's them, and just focus on your journey and what you're doing. I see also people being like, their husband did this, their husband did that, their husband's doing all this. Right. You know, you just have to use your partner where they're strong and not compare yourself, because again, you don't know really what's going on behind closed doors also. That's very true. Yes, that is very true. So when should somebody contact a doula if they do want this type of support? How early in the pregnancy would you recommend? I get booked the minute literally somebody takes a pregnancy test. Awesome. But you know, I guess I think I would do it the earlier the better, so you can really have that support. A lot of people are comfortable after, obviously, the first trimester is over with. Sure. So that would be a good time. Some people are more comfortable after the 20-week ultrasound. You know, I people will book me. I won't take a deposit until like after 11 or 12 weeks, you know, till they get the heartbeat, and they, you know, until then. But I would say, you know, if you really want the support, because again, it's not just about the birth. It's like people text me all day long. That's one of my things. You can call, text me anytime you want with any questions. And I have girls that call me that text me 2 or 3 times a day. And it's like, just to have that support is, you know, the more you sign up with somebody, the sooner you sign up with somebody, the more, you know, support you'll get. Yeah. And the more familiar you'll be with this person once you get into the labor and delivery phase of it. You know them really well. And they know you. That's a huge, huge like I said, I sell packages. And part of the reason I do packages, people are like, can you just do the birth? And I'm like, no, because I won't go into, I am so deeply connected to my people because I spend so much time with them, and I'm invested because I like love them by the time we go through this. And I know them so well, and I know their partners so well, and I know the way they tick, and they know me, and they trust me, and they know I have their back, and they're able to let go because of that.
Yes.
And you can see, like with a lot of my clients that I post on Instagram and stuff, that you can see how close of a connection there is. And
yes, there's a very deep spiritual bond, you can tell.
Yeah, and it's very important to me to have that. I don't understand how people can just be like, okay, nice to meet you, I'll see you at the birth. I like, that's not how I like to work.
Yeah, I agree. And I think being on the other side of it as somebody who had been pregnant, that's what I would have wanted to, is somebody throughout the process of it. So I really deeply trusted that person once we got to that moment.
Yeah, I like to see my clients and talk to them a lot. So
yeah, that's so lovely. And so for those of you that are listening who are trying to get pregnant, who are pregnant right now, even if you're high risk, it's a great idea to consider whether you want a doula or not, because in the end, you want to have a complete team that you are completely and fully trusting of. Whether that includes a midwife, an OB, a doula, whoever that is, you want to be fully trusting of them. And so as you're building this team, consider bringing on a doula onto your team too, to make sure that you get all the support that you need and deserve to bring this baby into this world as safely as possible. Lori, what are your final words of hope for couples who are trying to get pregnant or who are pregnant right now?
Well, I also want to say too, like, again, it, like what you were just saying about consider a doula. We are, even if you have a midwife and doing a home birth, doulas, we work with midwives all the time. We don't deliver the baby, but we're by your side working with the midwife to help you. Even that's in home births or and hospital births or birthing centers or wherever. Like I said, even if you're having a C-section, it's great to have that support. So, I just want to say that.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing.
One of the things I would leave you girls with is to stay off the internet, because if you're not looking for a problem, you're definitely going to find one on there. And it breeds fear, and the oversaturation of information is just taking women away from their truth of what feels right for them and them being able to trust their body. It's it makes me so sad, because if you look at women in Africa, they just go into the fields and have babies, and nobody taught them how to do it. They just do it because they trust their bodies. They haven't been on the internet Googling a million things. And the infant mortality rate is more from dirty tools there than the birth itself.
Wow. That really puts it into perspective.
Yeah. And like starvation and stuff like that. It's different. It's not because, so there's, I really try to remind my people of that. And that you're made to do this, that your journey is your own journey, that, sometimes when things don't go quite as planned, there is a bigger picture, and your baby has its own soul and spirit and is coming in and chooses its own unique way to come in for its ultimate being. So, that's something to think about, especially if your baby's premature or this or that. And, again, it's going to pull up another side of you, especially a strength probably that you never knew that you had.
That is very true. I can certainly attest to that from a personal perspective. You're so right. Lori, where can people find you if they want to know more information about the services you offer?
My website, loribregman.com, LORIBREGMAN.com, or my Instagram, LBREGGY, Lbreggy. Those are probably my two places that are good to find me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your story and your journey and your amazing input and advice for couples who are listening and are trying to figure out what their journey is and how to bring their baby into this world. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Gosh, what she just said right now really hit home about how to trust your body. And as you've listened to Delivering Miracles, and if you've listened to other episodes, you know that is such a huge piece that I teach my clients as well, is we've got to step away from the fear because it impedes our ability to get pregnant, stay pregnant, have smoother deliveries. And this is me saying this even though I delivered as early as I did at 24 weeks and 5 days. I still so strongly believe it. And I love that she shared that just now and really ended on that note. I think it really highlights the theme of today, which is you deserve to have a complete team in your corner that's supporting you during your pregnancy. And you need to have a complete team that you really, truly trust. And having a doula may be something really important to consider, no matter where you're delivering or how you deliver. It is something that I wish I had looked into during my high-risk pregnancy, and I hope that this is something that's inspired you to look into it too. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And if you enjoyed today's episode and all the amazing advice that Lori provided, please head over to iTunes and leave a review so we can get even more guests like Lori to can come on and provide you with the motivation and tips and information that you may not be getting elsewhere. I know I didn't, to help you through your fertility journey and through your high-risk pregnancy. And if you are going through a high-risk pregnancy right now, please know that you can find a way, you can manage your body and your symptoms and your complications to help yourself stay pregnant even longer than your doctor may think is possible. And if you want to know more, I would love to schedule a free consultation with you. So head over to my website at parijatdeshpande.com and schedule your free call. And I'd love to stay in touch. So follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Parijat Desh. That's PARIJATDESH. This is your journey. No matter what it looks like, bumpy, curvy, simple, scary, it's yours. And the sooner you own it, the sooner you really accept it, and the sooner that you really own and accept the strength that you have to get through it, amazing things will happen for you and your baby. I truly, truly believe it. And having a doula on your team may be a really great way to get through this journey, no matter what lies ahead. Take it one day, one step at a time. You can do this.